Hello, 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 GH, fellow fans, General Hospital fans. Let's talk about Monday, June the 6th, 2022's episode of General Hospital. It was a pretty good episode that I can say. Um, the things that to me were the biggest recaps or events that happened is, of course, Valentine shows up trying to convince Ned to jump on his side, which in reality, we all know Ned is going to end up going that way. He always goes against the grain and he will bite with Valentine's offer. I just have that feeling. But it was nice that he brought Charlotte's riding gear for Leo because they just got Leo a horse for equestrian therapy, for autism spectrum disorder. So that's nice that they're still really keeping that whole storyline up to date with little Leo. One of the things that is going to happen, if you can recall, Charlotte and Aiden were in kindergarten 2 years ago, and Willow was their teacher. Yeah, I don't think it was 3 years. I think it was 2 years ago. Now, Charlotte's away at boarding school. We all know when Charlotte comes back, they're going to have aged her significantly. She will no longer be the age of little Aiden. She is going to truly be a teenager going through teenage things. So that's going to be interesting because they did that with when when Cameron and Jocelyn were aged up into teenagers. Do you remember? They didn't age the character that played Spencer. They were his summer camp counselors. He was still that little precocious Spencer, that adorable little actor. So they finally, I guess, decided it's time to age Spencer to what he really should have been, because he was actually the age of Jocelyn, Cameron, Spencer, and little, what was her name? Is it Emma? Emma Drake. They were all the same age. So it's going to be interesting to see that storyline. But Michael and Willow. I'm happy, by the way, to see the original Michael back. So I guess it was a very small stint that he had to be out with the actor that filled in for him, who used to play Noah Newman on The Young and the Restless. But he and Willow at the pool. I did like the connection Carly has with Willow. But do you notice what's happening? What's happening with Willow is everybody's noticing she's looking tired. She got a little lightheaded at the courthouse on Thursday. So we got one or two things going on. Willow's pregnant or she's sick. I would definitely see them. I see them expanding Willow and Michael's family. They're definitely young parents. But when you think about how would the truth about Nina come out, the way it is in usual soap opera fashion is Willow comes down with this rare illness that she either needs a bone marrow transplant from her mother and or father, or something that only Nina is going to be able to provide to save Willow. And what's going to happen is Carly is going to end up saying, hey, Willow is your daughter. Willow, you have a donor. It's Nina, she's your mother. It'll end up saving the day if they go that route. But then Willow would be like, you mean you knew all this time and you didn't tell me? And then Nina would be able to play the victim again. That, oh, once again, Carly kept a secret of who my daughter was, even though she kept Sonny away for 9 months. So like I said in one of the other videos, I feel that secret about Willow and Nina has a good 9 months, and then we could call them even. But anyway, that's going to be interesting. They are definitely building a storyline with Willow, and I'm going to see how that's going to play out. Love to talk about that when it happens. But we've got Finn, who came to visit Elizabeth against her will, even though she says, I need to heal. Please don't come visit me. Not only does he come visit her, he brings her flowers. Wow. So, I mean, we understand he cares about her and he misses her, but she needs to get the help that she needs. One of the things that's starting to come out is, what is her trigger? Those sleeping pills were the cause of the sleepwalking and disassociation, but something else had to have happened. There had to be a trigger. And what I was thinking about is, really, when she found out that Jake had been speaking with her parents at the library on the library's computer, that really kind of sent Elizabeth, off. And we all know there was some definite troubling times for her when she was a teenager, in regards to her parents. So that's going to be interesting. I really feel that that's going to be the catalyst, especially now in today's episode. Finn and maybe Laura were talking, and they said, well, maybe somebody needs to call and let her parents know what's going on. Then I really think we're going to get to the bottom of what is going on with Elizabeth. So that to me was pretty much all. I mean, yes, they had Marshall and Curtis and talking, and Marshall said he was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And so we'll see how that's going to play out, because as we know, he's on medication for it to keep it in check. So we have to make sure. I don't know. I'm kind of seeing some episodes maybe happening to Marshall while he's living in the house. With Curtis. I don't know. I would hate to see, any kind of thing really happening with the family, but we'll see. Now that they're bringing out it's schizophrenia, that's a whole nother animal. So, we'll see how that goes. But anyway, that is all that I have today. Today was an okay episode. I would really like storylines to heat up, and I kind of think they're putting some into play now for us to have going on over the summertime. So with that being said, everyone, I look forward to coming back tomorrow with the episode for Tuesday, June the 7th. Please like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click subscribe, and also ring that notification bell so that you can get notified every time I do a video. Have a great evening. Hello, GH Daily Recap friends and family and loved ones, those of us that fans that we love General Hospital. And I tell you, I love talking about it. This is the daily recap for June the 7th, 2022. Let's see, where do I begin? We had a whole number of segments on Marshall explaining to Curtis, how he felt all those years ago with getting his schizophrenia diagnosis and having to take medication. And he was afraid of the man that he could be in the future versus going through true help and seeing if that was ever going to happen, because it kind of seems like that never happened. But he walked away from his family for all of those years. I'm interested to see where that storyline is going to go, because it's kind of boring, but that's my opinion. Now, let's see. Michael came to Ned, and he said, Ned, Thru and I are waiting. You never made us any kind of counter offer. So Ned decides to tell Michael, okay, here's my counter offer, because Thru has never worked at ELQ. And both of you actually are working for Aurora right now. So he says, let's split up control 3 ways. That we each have our own divisions, because now we're bringing these 2 companies together. We each focus on our strengths. You know, I'll focus on ELQ, whatever divisions we decide I'll have. Michael can focus on ELQ and Aurora, whatever focus he wanted to have. But understand, Aurora was split up between Jax and Michael, because Michael was really running Sam's half of Aurora. So Thru and Michael really have their hands full, but Michael does know ELQ and was a very, very good CEO for a long time. So I could see where he would still have his hand in a number of ELQ's operations. But now to me, that sounded like a really good counter offer that Ned made Michael. Because he says, if there's any situation that we don't agree, the 3 of us come to a vote. And bottom line, you know, we'd have a tiebreaker. But he felt that was fair. Michael said, well, I'll mention it. I'll tell Thru. But you could tell Michael wasn't too enthused about it, which I don't understand. But then as Ned is leaving, Ned picks up his cell phone or takes out his cell phone, and he's going to obviously call Valentine so he can meet, which Valentine flat out told Ned that no, CEO is off the table. I'm the only CEO. I'll find you something different, name another lesser position, but you know, it could be a good title, but I'm CEO. But yet Ned is so hung up on being CEO of this new merger. Yet he's now obviously willing to give it up to go and be with Valentine. I don't really quite understand that. Now, what else is kind of boring is we have Carly. Quite a few episodes or scenes with Carly talking to Thru. Let me buy into the merger. I could just go buy them on the public market. Let me help you, Thru. Okay, I guess we're trying to now build this friendship between Thru and Carly back up again, because they did mention that when, you know, she thought he was Jason, they had developed a really tight bond, which they had. She rekindled that bond with Jason just as if he was Jason, because quite frankly, everybody, we know the replacement for Jason was supposed to be Jason until they decided to bring Steve Burton back. And now we had to figure out, what are we going to do? So now we made this twin. Now we made Thru. So they did they wrote that out pretty well. I mean, it was so-so, it was okay. But we had to just deal with him. Said, I don't need your help. Michael didn't say he wanted your help, Carly. And she's like, yeah, but I could just help you without you wanting it. You know, Carly being Carly, she has nothing else to do right now at this point. And then we had the chaos the starting chaos that Michael is starting with Sonny's business. He's already started to take away business from the coffee shipments from some of the businesses, now refusing Corinthos coffee. He's already had something to do with Sonny's lead man on the port for Sonny's shipment. And Sonny knows right off the bat who it is. He knows it's Michael. He knows Michael's smart enough, and Michael doesn't know enough of the inner runnings of the Corinthos organization to do some damage. But what's interesting to me is the depth that Michael is going right now. It's really out of proportion to what happened. You know, he's an adult. His father chose someone else. Yes, he could hate Nina all he wants, but still Sonny is his father. And to strictly, he hurt my mother, now I gotta hurt him. Come on, Michael. You know, he's a little too old for that, but that's exactly what's happening right now. is Michael's putting his plan into action. And we kind of saw at the final scene, Sonny's little new military muscle shows up at the stables. So we shall see what he says to Michael, or what even happens with that. I don't understand where they're going to go with that particular subject line. But what was interesting is Sonny made the statement. He said how it's ironic how Michael doesn't want to forgive me for what I've done. Yet when he went after Willow was married to Chase. Well, maybe they didn't inform Sonny on the real deal, because in reality, Michael and Willow were together. Okay, they were actually married, but then they, got divorced and to start over, without the pressure of having to get married just to get custody of Wiley. But then they found out the truth, what Sasha and Chase did. So they were both trying to see if those old flames would work, but they decided those old flames couldn't work. And they were actually they were back together to tell Chase, but Chase came down with this deadly illness. Now, he and Willow had already been together. She only went with Chase just so that he's dying and giving him this dying wish of marrying him. And then lo and behold, guess who didn't die? And then it's, okay, he's paralyzed, so I have to help him through recovery. There was a lot of different inner workings with the Willow, Michael, and Chase situation. But Sonny, being Sonny, it has chosen just to throw that out the window and remake history for his own needs, that Michael stole another man's wife, which we all know that is not how that happened. But then there was kind of another cute scene that I thought was kind of cute, was the Brit intervention with Brad and Lizzo. They were, trying to talk Brit out of this downward spiral she's going in. And I kind of think they really need to write a good storyline for Britta, because this guy falling from the sky, I just don't know if that is good for her, but either she's going to progress with Huntington's now, or she needs to she's the doctor. People have diseases. Why wouldn't you just say, I have this and I'm living with this and I'm taking my medications and I'm going to move on? But to keep it a secret and then now close herself off from the rest of the world is kind of interesting. But I hope they come up with a storyline, because this actress, I really like her. And she can play deceitful. She can play vengeful. She can do a lot of things in a storyline to keep a storyline going. So I would really like to see if the writers decide to write a good storyline for her, because I think we all would want to see that. So that was my particular take today. Tuesday, General Hospital, nothing major, but things did just progress on with the various characters. And I'm interested to see what's going to happen tomorrow with Michael and the surprise guest at the stables. Will he know automatically that this person is one of Sonny's henchmen, or won't he? We shall see about that. So, and then we'll see what Valentine and Ned talk about. So with that being said, everybody, I will talk to you tomorrow. Please give this video a thumbs up. What are your comments? If you saw today's episode, what was your favorite scene? Do you even like Carly and Thru as a couple? I don't. But okay. Do you like Carly and Thru as a couple? And what was your favorite scene from today's episode? Or what scene was your least favorite scene from today's episode? Please type them in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And please click the subscribe button. The subscribe button, please go ahead and then also do the notifications notifications button so that you can get notified every time I do a video. So I will see you and talk to you tomorrow. Hello, hello, GH Daily Recap fans. I tell you now, today's episode, which is June the 8th, 2022, much better. I have more things to talk about. I actually had some surprises today. I was like, wait, what? And I'll tell you about that as soon as we get to it. But, you know, it kind of started off with Dex, that's Sonny's new guy, you know, talking to Sonny reaming him the riot act for going to Michael's because Brando tipped Sonny off. And sure enough, Dex was over there at Michael's. And Dante, well, first he tipped Dante off. He and Dante go over to find out what's going on. Why are you here? Sonny's new guy. So he leaves Dex. And then Brando goes with him because he goes, I'm going to make sure my Uncle Sonny knows you were here. So Dante's then talking to Michael and making a lot of sense because the level that Michael is going to ruin Sonny's organization, it's obvious. And it's funny, Dante being a cop, knowing the guy that Dante got fired was on the take at the docks for Sonny and just, hey, status quo, look, it's harmless. Yes, he's working for our father, turning a blind eye to something. And by the way, can any one of you comment? I've asked this before, I think. What is Sonny's business? We know he's not into guns because when Lorenzo Alcazar came to, oh my God, no guns in Port Charles. We know he's not into drugs because he's gotten rid of a ton of drug lords. Now, another thing we know is not just coffee that he imports. So what actually is it? Is it art? I mean, what is it? Because it's really not gambling, even though he has a whole island for the gambling. But I don't know. That's interesting. They've never really said what Sonny's business is. But that was an interesting scene, and it made sense when Dante said, well, really, what kind of man are you going to try to show Wiley to be? Because you are acting just like our father. He really is. And Michael has always been devious that way. And I'm going to get back to Michael a little bit later because the what is coming up. Now, also, I really liked Cody and Britt. We could tell something is going to go on between them. But to me, Cody is not a stand-up enough guy for Britt. She deserves something better than what he seems to be. He seems to be a conner, you know, con artist, a grifter, and she doesn't need that in her life. She needs somebody more stable. I don't know who it would be because I couldn't see her with let me see. Can't even think of his name now. That's telling you how. I can't even remember who or think about who Britt really fits with. I can't. But definitely, I don't know. I'm not liking Cody's vibe. I would rather see Britt with Spinelli. I'd rather see her with him, even though he's quirky, but I don't know. Sasha, it is touching, you know, that she really has not dealt with the grief of her child. You know, it takes time. And she just, I'm okay, I'm fine. And even though she's telling Gladys, I went to rehab, I know what drugs do. She was taking drugs just a few weeks ago. She has been taking them to cope with the death of her child. So for her to pretend like I would not do that, yes, you would. She's in withdrawal right now, fidgety, because she wants some more drugs. And Gladys sees it. You know, you got to either love Gladys or you got to hate Gladys. But if it's one thing's for sure, I think she truly loves Sasha. She actually really likes and loves Sasha. And the funny thing is, when you think about daughter-in-laws, Sasha is probably the only daughter-in-law that could put up with Gladys, because Gladys is an absolute positive piece of work. But one thing that I have to comment on, the shoes that she took out of the box were for what? A 8-year-old? 10-year-old? Who buys shoes that big and you're pregnant? Nobody. They make miniature baby versions of almost every shoe out there, because they know us new parents, or those new parents, or we, when we were all new parents, oh, we'll spend the money. So I know I don't have to buy a pair of shoes because they look cute for a 10-year-old. That I was like, oh my goodness, they could have come up with a better shoe. But anyway, that was just beside the point, and kind of interesting to me. So now, what I really liked was the scene between Gladys and Sasha at the end. Gladys swooped in there ninja style to knock that bottle of pills out of Sasha's hand. She did everything but a flip over the couch to get to Sasha to make sure she doesn't take pills, you know, which I like that, Gladys, because, you know, bottom line, we don't know what's in that bottle. Sasha is not above hiding real drugs in a legitimate over-the-counter bottle, but I can already tell, since they all hit the ground, Brando's going to walk in, those are going to be, remember, when Sasha went to the hospital, they gave her a over-the-counter non-addictive prescription, and that is probably what Sasha was taking at that time. So back to the Sonny Riemann out decks. You know, don't you ever go near my family. That's my family. It's off limits. You're here to do what I tell you to do, which is in Sonny's fashion, because he doesn't want his family hurt, which is why he knows who's doing this. He knows who's behind it. Wu was asking him all kind of questions, because she's like, look, I'm ready to get my organization into action to find out who's doing this so we could put a stop to it. And Sonny's like, I got it under control. And, you know, she's like, well, who is it? And he's like, I said I got it under control, because he knows he couldn't tolerate her going after Michael. So that's just an interesting dilemma going with this. You know, it's gonna not end well. It really isn't. And then Michael's going to regret what he's done. He's gonna realize that, I think I went too far. But this is the wow. When Dex meets Michael in an alley, I thought, here he goes again. He just does not listen. But then when he calls Michael boss, I was like, oh my goodness, Michael, he is so cunning. This is a side we haven't seen from him in years, because guess what? Does anybody remember? This was years ago, probably 10 or more, when Sonny was going through a major bipolar spiral down episode. And or it was when Sonny got shot and was in that wheelchair, one of the two. There was a reason, but Michael stepped in to the role as running the Corinthos organization. And boy, was he a good mob boss. He knows how to command, control, respect. He had Jason by his side, and there was no stopping Michael, which is why when Sonny was in Nixon Falls and Carly stepped up, even though I loved the way Laura Cartwright played a mob boss, she was great in that position. I really liked her. And I kind of think Selena Wu liked the fact that she had another woman sitting at the table making the decisions that needed to be made. You know, she had Cyrus Renault's mother kidnapped. Yikes. You know, kind of turned out a little shaky, but guess what? Bold move. Cyrus boat, she had Brit blow it up in the ocean. I mean, Carly does a very, very good job of that world and keeping the business going, whatever business it is, whatever type that is. They all know, but won't say, you know, but Michael is the best. So now that we know Michael is the one who pays Dex, and he had Dex pretty much infiltrate Sonny's organization, Sonny is not gonna see that coming. But you want to know who will? Brando. Brando's gonna somehow Brando's gonna figure that out. And is anybody other than me see that Brando is eventually going to work for Sonny? He's going to. He cannot help protecting his uncle. He's built for it. And the longer Steve Burton is gone and they are keeping the character of Jason in limbo, once a decision's made that Jason's not coming back, Brando will be the right-hand man. He has the skill set. So that, and I actually want him to, because by then Sasha would have spiraled out of control. I don't really know where their storyline is going, Sasha and Brando, but you know what? He's good at it. He loves his Uncle Sonny and he'll protect him. So, you know, this was an episode that I truly, truly enjoyed. I as you can kind of see it, sometimes when it's blah, it's like, what can we talk about? But this was a really good episode. So what I want to do is I want to ask you, what was your, oh my goodness, scene today? What did you like about today's episode, you know, which is Wednesday, June the 8th? What did you like? What didn't you like about the episode? You know, who was your favorite characters? What was your favorite scene? I really want to hear from you. You know, I had a great recap fan, just like me, write a comment that she really feels, and or they really feels, because I really couldn't tell, but you know, the writer really feels, or the commenter, that General Hospital should have more true hospital storylines. You know, back in the day, you rarely got out of General Hospital. But that was a long, long time ago, because we did start to go into other people's storylines and their houses. And then when they made Port Charles's Night Shift, now, if anybody watched Night Shift and remembered Night Shift stayed in the hospital because it centered around all the doctors that were working the night shift. And then the spinoff Port Charles definitely did not really deal with General Hospital. There were very few scenes in Port Charles that were at the hospital. It was about Port Charles, but we dealt with the whole vampire situation going on with Caleb and Liv, and it was, I liked them though. They were the best couple. But on General Hospital, you notice for a hot second, they put, when they had him as the character of Silas, they put Silas and Sam together for a hot minute, just a hot minute, for us who remembered them in Port Charles, from Port Charles. And you know, the spark wasn't there, but boy, was it there way back in the day. So anyway, look, write your comments. I would love to even get some flashback in there. What do you remember? What's flashback that you remember? If you remember when Michael took over the business, give me a comment on that. And also, please like the video, give them a thumbs up. Please give this one a thumbs up, and any other one that you see, click the subscribe button. So this way you're a subscriber. Ring that notification bell so that you get notified every time I do a GH Daily Recap, because I tell you, I know us General Hospital fans, We have a lot to talk about. We have a lot that's on our mind. And that's what I want this to be about. A place where we can kind of talk about the show, have some fun with General Hospital. So I will be back for Thursday, June the 9th episode really, really soon. Hello, 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 GH Daily Recap fans like myself. Welcome, welcome. Let's talk a little bit about Thursday, June the 9th, 2022's episode of General Hospital. It was an okay, I guess, typical Thursday episode. Not as good as yesterday's episode, but it was okay. I think for me, as I knew, one of the early scenes, we have Nicholas daydreaming about he and Esme. He's always like that, Oh, and then at the end of the show, he goes, I'm going to the drugstore. Did you need anything? I honestly don't know what he meant by that, because did he use something he should have gotten from the drugstore when he had sex with Esme on the floor in that room? So I don't know. It may be too late for a drugstore, because I already know Esme's going to turn up or pretend to be pregnant and have a fake positive test to just really break up Nicholas and Ava. And she says, oh, if you choose to tell Ava, I will support you. I'll be right by your side. I want you to know you won't be alone, Nicholas. What about Spencer? Because if Nicholas tells Ava, Spencer's going to find out, and how's Spencer going to react? Esme showed her true colors right then and there, and Nicholas, for one, should have been very, very worried. So there's definitely a storm of brewing with that, but we always know with Esme, there always is. Now, the society setup thing, we've got the loser guy. I even forget his name, Dante's friend that blew into town. He's really scumbag, just, a user, con man. Britt saw right through him when he was trying to convince her to sue the company, saying that the owner's name was Zelda Telespi. And then, of course, we get this Zelda Telespi walks in and makes Britt this offer to make things right. She apologized profusely for the accident. And then at the end, what was interesting, she comes to Spinelli, reporting to him. He hands her a wad of cash, and she's saying everything's been taken care of or handled. And it really made me wonder, I really think Spinelli, first I thought he owned the company. If he doesn't own the company, then he is paying her to set him up with Britt, because she said she's going to make Britt her personal mission so that Britt won't be alone. She's going to find a match for Britt. I kind of think it's going to be Spinelli, and maybe he's paying, the owner for it, or he bought the company and he still wants to be set up with Britt. One of the two. Tell me what your thoughts are. What do you think is going on with Spinelli? It has Carly and Sam worried because, of course, he's doing a complete change of character, change of dress. Although, I like his new dress. Spinelli was Spinelli. Now he seems to be maturing, so I kind of like it. Do you? I do. So, Sasha, we had some scenes with Brando trying to figure out what's going on between Sasha and Gladys, because Gladys, overreacts, but one thing he knows about his mother is she doesn't really overreact. There's usually some kind of truth to her actions, even though she might be a big liar. But where Brando is concerned, she is no nonsense. And I don't know, covering for Sasha is in the end going to be the wrong move, because if it's one thing Gladys knows, is Sasha did have pills, and Sasha had taken some pills. She doesn't know the extent, And thank goodness, because then she would really know Sasha's just really good, like Brando was, like most folks addicted, to drugs, in hiding it and covering what's really, really happening with them. But you could just see the spiraling Sasha's doing, and I don't understand why Brando doesn't see those signs as well, especially now that he has been made aware that there was some concern on his mother's part. That was kind of interesting to me. And then we had conversations between Trina and Jocelyn, and Trina's expressing her worries about having to go to trial, maybe expelled from college. And I mean, that is a whole lot going on for her being framed. And like I said, that was way too perfect. And there were so many holes in that recording, in the device and everything else, that Esme is just this master magician to be so young. And then I kind of like the scene where Ava, Nicholas, Esme, Spencer were in the living room, and Ava says that they needed to get some things straight. And what she said was, oh, the deal I had between Spencer, now includes Esme. And let me make sure we all understand this, that while we're all living in the house, you and Spencer are going to have to be on your best behavior and not doing any of your past bad deeds. And Esme actually got a little indignant and stepped right up to Ava and it's like, and if I don't? And Ava stepped towards her and said, well, if you don't, then Spencer can go right back to waiting tables. And, as far as I'm concerned, you'll be waiting them next to him. And so Nicholas steps in the middle, but then Spencer says, I agree to your terms, Ava. I agree, because let's face it, he really doesn't want to have to move and be alone with Esme. So this is kind of a win-win. Spencer has some buffers, and Ava is beginning to figure out. She even called Spencer out on him having feelings for Trina. So Ava is figuring that out. So anyway, this was just a typical Thursday episode for me. Can you tell me what you liked in the comment section? What did you like about today? What didn't you like about today? Where do you think the Spinelli storyline is going? What is he up to? I would really, really like to hear comments on that. And I have a question for you. Does anybody remember way, way back when, years ago, when Damian Spinelli made his first debut on General Hospital, years ago? Remember Sam and Jason were on this adventure to find something. I forget what were they trying to find. And they ended up finding Spinelli, calling himself Jackal, in this house, and they had to chase him down, and he's going running it up and down upstairs, and Jason had to subdue him. And that's how they introduced the character of Spinelli. And I think what ended up happening is Jason, through that ordeal, whatever was happening in that storyline, taking Spinelli with him to protect them. So that was interesting. Years ago, it was actually Jason and Sam that found Spinelli. So anyway, and I remember Spinelli gave Jason the nickname Stone Cold, but I don't remember Samantha's. He would always call her Fair Samantha, but I kind of think in the beginning, he even had another nickname for Sam. If anybody can remember, what was Spinelli's original nickname for Sam was? Can you put that in the chat box? Because I would really like to remember that, or say, yeah, that's what it was. Or was it Fair Samantha? I don't know. I think it was something else. So anyway, I'm looking forward to Cliffhanger Friday, hopefully. we'll have a cliffhanger tomorrow that I can share with you and talk about. So I will talk to you all tomorrow, June the 10th. Hello, hello, GH Daily Recap fans, General Hospital fans. Listen, here is my General Hospital review for today, June the 10th, 2022, Friday cliffhanger. It was an okay Friday, not really a cliffhanger Friday, but they did have some action. I do have some things that I am going to talk about for Friday. So welcome, welcome. First of all, please click that subscribe button to the channel. So this way you can get notified and hit that alert button so you can be notified and alerted whenever I drop a new video. And please, if you like it, give it a thumbs up. I love thumbs up. So let's dive right in. I'm going to start with Ryan Chamberlain. Ryan Chamberlain. Boy, he was like creepy. He had some kind of vision because Mac was in his face taunting him about what he would do if, what he really wishes he could do to Ryan or what he feels should happen to Ryan, just all in his face. When really Mac, back in the day when Ryan was terrorizing Felicia, what did Mac really do? Come on now. So anyway, he's just in Ryan's face. So Ryan had this vision of himself jumping out of the wheelchair, and being all Hannibal Lecter on Mac, biting his neck. And then you see this bloody face on Ryan. And I was like, oh my goodness, what is going on here? What's happening? And then, of course, they showed it was just a flashback from what was inside of Ryan's head. So now we're starting to see Ryan Chamberlain back on the canvas. Okay, Ryan back on the canvas. And then we also had some scenes with Ava questioning Spencer, about, wait, I'm starting to see you're having some feelings for Trina. Then what are you doing with Esme? What's going on? And at one point, it kind of looked if Nicholas hadn't come in with the ice bucket, that the ice should have been melted as long as he was out there. Spencer kind of shut down and said he had to go to Kelly's. Esme, of course, in the hallway, when she was talking to Nicholas, ends up giving them this hug before she walks off. And Nicholas, the idiot, allowed that to happen when nobody can ever know about us, but yet you're going to start hugging me when you walk away. We did not have that kind of relationship before we slept together. So why would you do that now? But see, he's just looking like he doesn't know what to do, Nicholas. Oh my goodness. So then he comes in. And he and Ava, there's a couple of scenes with them talking, long drug out scenes. And she gets close to him. She's like, oh, wait, I know that scent. I know that fragrance. That is Esme's. What is it doing on you? And he looks and he goes, well, Esme just passed me in the hallway. So, her fragrance lingers all over everything. And Ava kind of lets that go. She doesn't say too much about it. But then we get the scene where Finn is actually going to be taking Elizabeth's boys, and of course his little daughter, beautiful, cute little actress, on a camping trip. And Cameron initially was kind of bulking at no, he wasn't going to go after all. And Laura talks to him and lets him know that, you know what, I know you don't want to do it. This isn't for you, but do it for your younger brothers. They need to kind of get out. They need to do something different, get out and walk with them. You might run across something in nature, just she pumped up his spirits as to, you don't want to do it for you, fine, but do it for your brothers. So he agreed to do that. What's interesting to me, though, is why he didn't invite Jocelyn, because she would have gladly gone on that trip camping with him, to be with his little brothers and to just, be with Finn, Violet. I mean, she would have gone, but he didn't even probably let her know about it, because she's texted him and she's even mentioned that she called him and Cam isn't really responding back to her. So she doesn't understand, And then we, of course, had the scene where Trina got the news that the school might be expelling her or giving her some kind of sanction, and she has to have a meeting with the dean. So at least now she knows that's going to happen. And then Jocelyn was initially trying to say, we should go to school abroad. And Trina's like, I don't even know what I'm doing next month, let alone plan something like that. But then the little cute cop, Rory, he comes in and he's offering to help. And Trina's letting both Jocelyn and Rory know that, look, I have to do this on my own. I have to prove my own innocence and clear my own name. Especially Rory, you're a cop. You can't really get involved with this. This is going to be a trial coming up. And Jocelyn, your case is different from mine. And what was interesting is I understood where she was coming from, but what has Trina ever been able to figure out? Nothing. So, like I said, where is the real adult help, the real tech help? Well, we see Spinelli's off in Spinelli land doing something else, but what about Brick? He cyber king. He could have found out something. I don't get that whole storyline at all. And then another off topic scene that they had, they've been sprinkling this in, which makes no sense, where Mac is thinking Felicia wants a baby, Felicia's thinking Mac wants a baby, and they finally talk about it, and she's talking about, no, we have a baby. His baby Louise, or Bailey Lou, whatever. I think it's Bailey Louise. So we have a baby. And he's like, oh, you're talking about our grandbaby. Well, in reality, everybody, Mac is in his late 50s or maybe 60 now. Felicia is the same. How would they have a new baby and that baby be healthy? Come on. They really weren't even thinking of, yes, this is soap opera land, and Felicia does look really good for her age, but in reality, they are past the brand new let's get pregnant stage. They would have to think we're going to adopt and give a child in need a good start. I mean, but yes, they do have grandchildren. So let's devote and put our time into our grandchildren. So, but it was kind of cute when Felicia did say, no, we're talking about Maxie's baby. So that was really cute. And then they had a scene with, of course, Curtis talking to Portia in and out, cutting it out of all the other scenes. And he tells Portia what his father's diagnosis is. And as a doctor, she's given him all the politically correct answers. She's given him encouragement as her, significant other boyfriend. And he was saying he feels he may need to get tested. How did she feel about that? And she was saying, well, you could take some time to get tested. I mean, because you haven't exhibited any symptoms, but, talk to your father about it. But what was going on in her head, right? This scene right here, where soon as Curtis left the room, she went to this face, because she knows her daughter would now be genetically prone to this, which is going to be interesting. So she called, I guess, a doctor colleague or some kind of colleague saying, listen, we need to meet. I have some questions that I need to ask. So she's going to try to find out, the genetic markers and probably the true chain from grandfather to granddaughter. She's not going to be really talking about it that much on the Curtis era, realm, but she's going to be talking about it probably more for herself. So that's what was really, really interesting. Now, I did right now want to take just a few moments, before I wrap up, because I love, love, love comments from fellow fans like myself. And I have a person, a wonderful fan that loves the comment, and I love the comments that this person gives. And they like to give predictions too. Like they are saying that we're debating or thinking about who is Esme's mother. And one of the comments the fan said could be former DA Jessica Holmes, who's a person that Ryan did kill, or Ava herself. But I think I talked about that, that I don't think it's Ava. And then I did some research on former DA Jessica Holmes, and I kind of think the timeline, I mean, she had a story that was volatile, with other characters, and they were actually accused of her murder at first until it was found out that Ryan killed her. But I don't know how much she really knew Ryan, and she ended up being pregnant, but where I read the information from, it never said she either had her baby by the time Ryan killed her. Ryan broke out of wherever he was, and like he always does, and was trying to kill Felicia at the time, but Jessica was at Felicia's house. So he ended up just killing Jessica, just because she was in the wrong place at the wrong time, so that was interesting with her storyline. But I do love the fact that, we're getting comments. Give comments. I will talk about the comments, at the end of every section if you give them, because you know what, they give us something to talk about, something to think about, don't they? So this has been my pleasure. This wraps up the week, and probably what I will start to do is at the end of every week, do just a weekly wrap up. I'll put all the week's videos together in one. For you who may not have a lot of time or don't want to click on each and every day to see the recap that I gave, I will just put them together. So if you're checking in on the weekends, you can click on that. It'll play them all in order, and you can still comment. Please, please, please comment, because that's what this platform is here for. It's just for us General Hospital fans to get together and talk about the show and have some fun doing it. So with that being said, I will be back on Monday with Monday's recap, GH recap.